Nhaka and Tsitsi, welcome to the Family Business Voice. It's really great to have you both in these very special times, very particular circumstances that we're connecting over here. We will focus our conversation today, obviously, on the situation that we're dealing with a particular focus on Africa and how African family businesses are going to be facing this challenge, in your opinion, and what you think is a likely scenario to pan out here.
Why do you think we have this level of denial in particularly vulnerable parts of the world? And why is it so hard for us to actually understand that at any given moment in time, this is a possibility? And that means that at any given moment in time, as family businesses, we should be prepared. What do you think is the biggest obstacle, maybe mentally and culturally, here that we're facing?
Over here, I would say culture. And we don't like to acknowledge death and plan or think about death as a people, which makes succession planning difficult and definitely makes discussions around the pandemic even more difficult. We hide under faith and ascribe all responsibility to a being that can't be seen who will save us from that day. So all is well. God day, we've prayed about it and everything will be fine. For instance, last week I had to sort out my son and mine's passport. And we're in the passport office, and the lady that was assisting me came up to me, embraced me looking at her in pure shock. She says to me, "Oh, they say we shouldn't be touching each other in this pandemic, but..." And I was literally just like, "You are joking." She's like, "Oh, God day." Wow. And I was just like, "You are joking." So I literally got out my Clorox wipes and I wiped down my entire body. And I was like, "You can carry on with your foolishness, but I will not, operate by that." So I think as a people, we don't like to acknowledge death, that it will happen, that we have a responsibility towards catering for our loved ones in the instance that it happens. We have a responsibility to plan and avert it such that it does not happen. We tend to, as a people, live day by day. Businesses tend to just take it day by day. Very few businesses over here have strategic plans, long-term strategic plans. So I think that's the reason why.
Interesting. Tsitsi, would you agree with that, or do you see another dimension to it as well?
I absolutely agree with everything they have said. And I think just to add to what she's saying, it's that given what we're facing right now, and family businesses being a unique entity as they are, we in Africa, one of our biggest problems is the fact that we don't have that transition from founder to next gen going on as effectively as it should. And most of the founders, usually in Africa, we have a lot of issues, especially when it comes to health. We have a lot of underlying medical conditions. And so the denial that most founders, I think we found when we are speaking to them, they do not want to speak about succession and next gen because they feel they're facing their own mortality, and there's some mind frame that we have, especially on the continent, that we don't deal with death until death comes to us. And at this moment, death is on our doorstep. The bigger question will be how many African family businesses are going to be left without founders who were essentially the James Bond founders and were running their businesses with that iron fist. It's not just an issue of all the other issues that are going to come in terms of how many people, are we still going to have employees? Are we still going to have all that are just issues that we're going to find it right at our doorstep. And the denial. On Sunday, you had people going to church. And I couldn't understand for the life of me. We're being told to self-quarantine, but then I guess it also comes from the fact that we are not prepared to face our own mortality. Because if we are saying that God will solve everything, I'm a Christian, and I believe that God will take care of us, but it doesn't diminish my responsibility to myself, to my community, and to those people that I service in my community. But I find that my community are in denial. They just won't face the fact that it's at our doorstep. It's very real. And also, another thing I found, which is being attached to this whole denial thing, is the issue of people feel like if you get coded, you are being blamed for it. So that's, if you attach it to denial, everybody says, I don't have it. So I'm not taking any precautionary measures because it's not going to happen to me. And also the issue of if somebody was in contact with someone who had it, they're not willing to say, you know what, please check yourself because I was in contact with this person, or there is a possibility, because they feel there's a blame game. When the truth is, like you said, about 80% of the global population will get it. It's not, you're not at fault. At the moment, we're trying to curb it, self-isolate. Don't use denial as a benchmark. Don't use denial as something that's going to protect you.
When we look at it from the leadership challenge perspective, for the two of you, when you look at what kind of future leadership we will need to survive this crisis, but also to go onwards into the economy that will follow this pandemic, because we all know that it's very unlikely for anyone to emerge unscathed, and for anyone to return to business as usual is extremely unlikely by this point in time. What kind of leadership do we want in African family businesses? Like, what kind of type and style of leadership is required to get us back on track, or direct us into a new future model, and B, to make sure that it's the kind of leadership that next time something like this happens, that there is more preparedness and less denial. What would you think? What would you say?
I think firstly, we need leaders that are resilient emotionally, because I say it takes one operating from a sound mind to actually know how to take action in the event of crisis like this, right? So we don't need leaders that, hide in their caves, are so under the pressure that they, buckle under pressure. We need leaders that are able to see in the midst of the bleak situation, opportunities and future opportunities. We need leaders that communicate. So I've been in instances of crisis where, as a leader, there's this tendency to put a pressure on yourself to know what the next plan is. But there's some instances where you don't know what will happen, right? But you still have a responsibility to those that you need to communicate with them, right? This is what is going on. These are the different eventualities, different, contingencies. And what do you feel? It's important that the followers feel that there's empathy for what it is they're going through, because they're going through a lot as well. It's not just about the business and about the leader. I think this next generation have a lot of work on their hands. We need leaders that truly serve the people. Clearly, like you alluded to, we've had a failure of leadership across the globe. We've had leaders that haven't served the best needs of the people. Our culture globally has been high on steroids and just running like materialism and capitalist machines. And now the machine has packed up and we're forced, like Tsitsi mentioned, we're on timeout. The whole world is on timeout. And we're forced to reflect, what did we do wrong? Why are we here?
We're grounded.
Here because we're grounded. We're literally grounded. We failed the people. We failed to prioritize what mattered. We prioritized what didn't matter. So the next generation, we need leaders that serve the people. We need leaders that are emotionally resilient.
Beautiful.
We need leaders that communicate and encourage empathy. We must demonstrate empathy in seasons such as this. Yeah.
Beautiful.
I think picking up from what Nhaka is saying, I made a post on Instagram a few days ago, and I was taking, for example, what I usually say to my students at the school that I have. And I always say to the parents and the students that adults time out is jail. So when we time out kids and we put them in the corner and we get them to reflect about their actions and we tell them what they have done is wrong, some parents think it's a punishment and they think that children shouldn't be punished and they shouldn't be timed out. And I always say to them, here we believe that discipline is essential because children need time to think about their actions and they need to reflect on it. If you refuse time out, you're going to have a problem when they grow up. When they time you out, they take you away from society and they put you in a small room and they get you to think about your actions. And so at this moment, when we have this situation as the whole planet, we are being put in the naughty corner and we're getting a huge time out where we're being told that we need to think everything that has been said about climate change, everything that has been said about we're too connected, we're not disconnecting, we're not self-caring, we're not looking after ourselves or each other or the planet that we live in. We're just taking everything for granted. This now has been put at our doorstep and we've been given plenty of time and everything has been shut down. I mean, never in the history of my life had I ever thought an airline as big as Emirates would ground its fleet. Countries across the globe would shut down their borders. It's a huge time out. It's a space where we're all now forced to rethink the things that we thought were important. And more so during this time, what's coming out as critical is family. We are turning to our loved ones to find out, are they okay? What's going on with them? We're given space to spend with those loved ones we usually wouldn't want to spend time with because we're confined in the same space for endless hours to just work it out. And so it's now important that when we emerge from this, each one takes responsibility, and more so, we start identifying leaders who understand what self-care is, who understand that we don't need to get to a point of the ultimate time out for us to actually time out as individuals, as nations, as a planet. We don't need to get to a point where we're all grounded, that we start realizing what effects everything that we're developing, everything that we're doing has on the planet and on other people. And we are no longer at a space and time where we can disconnect and leaders can say, it's not my problem, it's another country's problem or it's the next person's problem. In family businesses, as nations, we now are faced with the fact that we are interconnected. Whatever we do will affect the next person. It's not just me, it's everybody. And I think this situation has just brought us to a space where we can no longer choose leaders that are self-serving, but we need to have leaders, even in our businesses, that we know will look after the communal good, because it's no longer individual, it's now communal. It's no longer that jail time out. It's now Earth has been shut down and you can't get on a jet or you can't get on a spaceship and try the moon or Mars or anything else. You just have to sit it out.
It's a time for reflection, no doubt. Both of you, thank you very much for giving us food for thought in this time where we are grounded and we don't really have a choice. Thank you for joining us both from your respective places. We take this platform also to express again our concern for everyone affected by COVID-19 around the world. We hope you all keep well. You hope you all keep safe. Please stay home, isolate, be responsible. Around the world, it is extremely important to keep everyone safe and to get out of this situation as quickly and as wisely and as mindfully as possible. Thank you, ladies, very much, and stay safe.